Your life is meant to be an adventure. It's meant to be fun. You're meant to discover your greatness. You're meant to thrive, become abundant, fall in love with yourself, and have a really great time. And you might not have done that. And the only reason you wouldn't have done it is because you haven't become your authentic self, because that's why you were born. And you're probably being asked to become more of your authentic self today. That's why I'm giving you this message. Last night, I was guided to write something that said, "You might believe it today." I didn't know why I was writing that. I didn't know why I was putting it down for you today because I'm always guided. And that's the thing I'm going to give you because you are guided as well. You have a plan that you're supposed to live in your life. You have something you were given that causes you to be really valuable and worthwhile and to be in the world now. You might not have believed that because I didn't either, but then I had to move through and create a plan so you could believe it. And that's why I know that I've created the blueprint for your success because your success is within you and you just got to realize how to navigate that and find out who you are. And sometimes that's challenging, but it's not your fault because we get programmed to believe other things and then it's hard for us to break through and understand who we are. And that happens over time, meaning time in your life, but also time in our world, our society, because we only can accept certain things that have happened already and say, oh, okay, now maybe I can believe that. And that's what you do in your life as well. If you think that you've done something, you'll kind of believe that. But then it's those other things, that unknown that you don't know yet. And that's what's challenging to believe. And I know I've done it for so long, but I'm going to give you something today because I want you to understand that there is order in the universe. Now, you may have thought that there was no divine plan for you or anything like that, or you didn't have a purpose. That's not true. It's all organized and there's a science behind it even. And I can show you because I've lived it. And so I can give it to you now. And you'll develop something in your life that you will give to others. That's how the world works, by the way. And I know that every single person has this value and worth within them. And discovering that was really challenging for me because, see, that held me back from what I was meant to do. Like, how could that have happened? You will do the same thing because there's something that you have that is within you that is meant to cause you to experience the greatness of you. Another thing, I know you're going to make different interpretations about yourself. They're all wrong because they're all limited. From this day on, you can create whatever you want from today. Doesn't have anything to do with where you were, what you did before. It's only today, and I can prove it to you. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you two things because yesterday, you know how you need validation to believe yourself. We all do. You seek it. We go to different places. I do it all the time. When I was first beginning to talk about certain things, the changes that were happening in the world, because I was receiving all of them, I would go to YouTube and listen to videos to listen to astrologers because somehow I was understanding the energetic changes because of what they were saying, even though I'd already written it down. So I'm going to show you that because I don't want anyone to doubt their abilities or their talents because what happens is they show up as you live and sometimes they can be really surprising because you've been holding them back, you've been blocking them for so long, and then they show up and it's like, oh wow. And I can say that because at 74 all of my talents are now here. That's strange. And I thought, oh, something was wrong with me. Wasn't. I was developing something so that you could have this really successful life. And guess what happens? Then we create a better world. And that kind of stuff has come through. And if you've heard a Wilhelm channeling session, you will hear that they say that all the time. We've given you everything you need to know to live a really happy, successful life and create a great world. And then we look at that and we think about it, and I think about it and go, that could be true. But why aren't we doing it? It's because of that old programming and that disbelief. And see, so that's why last night they said, put this down. You might believe it today. And believe it means believing you because it's only about your life. And so it's about training your consciousness, your brain. That's all. We all do. Every human is born the same way. We have flesh and bones and a brain. consciousness. However, it's shaped differently because of where we've come from. Our eternal journeys is different for everyone, and so if you understanding that, but you will understand just this little progression that I'm going to show you. Think about, we can do it just right now. If you go back in your life 25 years, you can see all the changes that have happened and all the improvements. And we really know it in the last couple of years, especially with artificial intelligence and all of that. We can see how those changes have happened. Well, I'm older, so I can look back many years and see them all. But why don't we see those changes happening in us as humans, that we develop something different? And I'll explain why that is important, because I don't want you to limit yourself ever. Let me show you this. Okay, now assume there is an order in the universe and there's an order in your life, and you use time, linear time, to kind of understand who you are. You can think of it as when you go to school. We can see that we go through specific, particular grades, and we learn more, and then we kind of understand things. That's how we can see how we grow in our physical bodies, but we do the same thing in our mind. So on January 18th, 2008. I'm just giving you the first sentence. That's what I was told to do. Just give you the first sentence of each year, and you will start to understand how it'll open your consciousness. And again, if I were to give you all the messages, the full messages, you will really understand. But I think just the idea, the concept from the first sentence will do it. You are constantly given examples to see that anything you desire is possible. We can all think about that and know it's true, but believing it is a whole nother thing. And then the next year, there is no power greater than you, for you and Source, or all that is, are one. We go through centuries not believing that one. And the next one, your inner senses always take precedence over your physical world manifestations. And that's when you start to understand how powerful your brain is. You will always underestimate the power of your thoughts. You see, that's what we come to the next year to understand. Let's start using that. Then the next one, where you are now is correct. We're always thinking that something is not right in our lives. We're in the wrong place. We've missed the boat. That never happens. The next one, you only ever become confused when you have yet to acknowledge and accept your own desires. That's because we get talked out of them and we can't believe ourselves. That's all that happens. The next one, you become angry, resentful, and irritated when you take a subservient position in your own physical life experience. And I'll tell you, in that particular message, they said, look up the word subservient and see how many different definitions of that there are, and see how much of your life you've put in that place, which is a fascinating exercise. And then the next one, little acknowledgments are important not only for your well-being, but for your expansion as well. That's one thing we don't do, and I haven't done it, is acknowledge what we've done. We don't do it enough. That's that whole gratitude thing you can use. The only difference between you and any great leader or any person who has made a significant contribution to your world is your lack of belief in yourself. Then the next year, everything is occurring in your life right now at exactly the right time. Then the next one, the sum total of all your life experiences has caused you to become wealthy right now. And the only reason that reality is not manifest in your present life condition is that you have yet to accept that fact entirely. Seeking confirmation has been your greatest gift and what has presented you with the most challenges in your life. That is, we want everyone else to give us confirmation instead of it coming from us, and that is the challenge. The next one, it is not possible for you to be in the wrong place in your life. We have to keep being reminded of that every year. Then the next year, blaming them or you will not help you accomplish your goal. And we're going to see a lot of blame, and you've probably experienced it in your life. And when you start blaming everyone else for what's happening in your life, you have no control of your life. And if we all start blaming our governments and leaders for what's going on in our world, then we have no control. Then you cannot fail. Of course, we're still here. We couldn't possibly fail. The next one, you have always been in the right place. Then the next year, you will understand yourself more today. That would make sense. And then today, you could believe it today. Now, when I got all of that, I decided let me do something else because I've been doing this recently. Um, and I'll explain why, because we each will develop something that might surprise us. And this is what I've done. I've not studied or been I'm not an astrologer. I haven't studied it, but I just understand energy, and all of the messages that Wilhelm has given me has been in order that I could never have explained to anyone. But it is also why that energetic order allows healing to occur. Because when you become aligned with yourself, when you become aligned with who you are, that's where healing happens. And then, anyway, this is the astrological aspects. I use AI just to get. I took the messages, all the messages from those years from Wilhelm, to see what they meant and why they were arranged and why today. And there's an explanation which I will give you. This document, I'll leave this in this description so you can go over it, especially those of you who might be interested in the astrology of it all. But also, you will see the explanation of Wilhelm's messages and why they have come through at the time that they have. And this one, this ties into Wilhelm's messages about restructuring yourself in the world, reflecting an urgent call to embrace your gifts and influence. So it goes into things that Wilhelm has given me over the years, but you will understand all of it because it's acceptance of you. That's what causes everything to change when you can accept who you are and what your life journey has been. And I'll tell you why this is happening now. Oh, I have one other thing to give you. Let me let me hang on one second. I'm going to give you this because I want you to have this one as well. Okay, I'm going to explain this one because I want you to know that anything is possible for you, even if it shows up in your life in some way that you don't understand, because that is how we evolve. So last night, I'm just thinking, and I was guided to go and find a message for this day, January 18th of 2020. And I started reading it, and I said, oh, wow, I kind of freaked out a little bit. I said, let me call my brothers. I did this because I wanted to have documentation. When you're developing something new, you want to have documentation of what's happening. And I have brought in a philosophy that could change your life or the world. Who knows? We'll see where it goes because it's done that for me, but we'll see. But I have also not believed it, just like you haven't believed something about yourself. That's what we move through. Okay, I will read this because it's important, and being vulnerable is what causes you to become successful. Because when you become vulnerable, you're owning yourself and why you're in the earth. That's all that happens, and it's a process. That's your self-actualization, or even it's your ascension. If you're a person who's on the spiritual path, that's the same thing. Okay, it is not possible for you to be in a wrong place in your life. We will use some subjective words in this message so you understand the meaning intended. Our opening sentence is true for every person without exception. Simply because the experiences in your life may be challenging or uncomfortable, they are not wrong. They are showing up for you to figure them out and cause you to evolve. There is no other purpose for your life. We will attempt to make this story as concise as possible. Roger worries about how much we have to say, even though warned him that would be occurring. Roger's always felt drawn to do work in his life that might aid others. At times he doesn't understand it, and neither do those close to him in his life. This condition, however, has caused him to seek to find his truth continually. Yesterday, he had an hour and a half meeting with four other coaches with whom he is working. At the end of the meeting, one coach said, I'm going to go to YouTube to do my vocal warm ups on Roger's channel. If only you could have seen the shock on Roger's face after they told Roger they had been following him since they were a teenager. Roger has little awareness, or we should say acceptance, of those he impacts. After the meeting, another coach called Roger with an offer to collaborate on a project. When Roger went to investigate the project, he realized he had known of this coach years ago from a television show. Roger then felt his old inadequacy emerge. He had known this information earlier. He would have reinforced his feeling of inadequacy. The timing was perfect as it is always in each of your lives. Then Roger had a call with a friend who has judged Roger for another friend Roger has in his life. Roger has attempted to avoid this conversation, but he couldn't. And during the conversation, he came through in a bit of anger. That's a typo. Roger has always felt the value that he received through this relationship, but no one else did. There was a reason for this, which we told him years ago. But we will remind him and you again. We will place that message here. Yet Roger still has not released his people pleasing mode. So he wants us to apologize again for the length of this message. But it will be worth it. March 27th, 2017. You needed the opposition. While needed is not the appropriate word, for need never really exists, it does get you to pay attention. It would be more appropriate to say that you desired the opposition because you knew that would cause you to become motivated. You wanted the motivation because you knew that would lead you to more self belief, because you also knew that was what you sought and was the only element missing in your personal formula for success. There is so much for you to study here. The point of all this is you will find it quite difficult to reach the level of success and accomplishment in your life without the development of your sense of self belief. That was the message, and that was challenging. And I had to read it to them. I had to say, because I've always known. But having others believe it was my biggest difficulty. And why do I have this? Why could this have happened? And I'll tell you. And why do I tell you I know what you can do? Because I do. It I started this in 1989, and I wasn't going to tell anyone because I didn't know what was happening. I just knew that I was receiving information that was giving me clarity and guidance, and it didn't make sense. Why was it going on? And then I moved through every horrible thing. I illnesses, diseases, all those things, and all of them started to heal. And I'm like, how is that happening? And it got to the place where I wasn't going to tell anyone. I wouldn't even allow my doctors to talk about it because I didn't understand it. It didn't make sense to me, and they were like questioning me, and I didn't want to be public. I'm introverted, so I didn't want to tell people, and I always get called out. I've hidden. That's why I was the reluctant mystic. I'm saying all of this because I want everyone to understand, because I'm changing things, and I have some people who are taking over a bit to do the marketing on this, because I know that I have something that could really change anyone's life if they want to become successful, happy, and live the life they have. So I need to give that. But as you can see there, I have a problem. I just love everyone. I just want you all to have it, and I know you're not going to do it. Because, see, I've moved through everything, but it took time and it took me using this brain. I sat down every day. And as I put out a presentation yesterday, and you'll see that it's called, your blueprint to your success, where I showed 10,000 pages I've written. I mean, I've done all of it and moved through every experience. So that information as well. But you have the same thing. What this work does is it gets you to figure out who you are and to own your life. And that's why I said it works for everyone. It doesn't matter where you are, because it connects you to your authentic self. When I started talking about something spiritual, that didn't make sense because that's not me. That's not what I'm going to do. I'm talking about energy, though, and everyone has that. And that's why you have an energetic genetic code. So what was revealed, and I've put all this in some of the messages that are in the description of the videos I've been putting up, where there's a string of messages. If you read any of them, your brain will change. You will see how you start to understand how great you are, because it's a process of opening up your through your blockages. That's all that it ever is for anyone. And so now that I have this, I can give it to the world. And that was always my intention. When as a kid, you have this idea, I'm going to change the world. Well, now I know I can. Because think about it. I had to come to this is the realization I came to. So the only reason people are going crazy and hating each other and arguing and all of that is that they're just not happy. They just don't know who they are. They just haven't worked through all that old stuff. They haven't worked through their generational trauma. And that's what we're all doing right now. And so if you do it, you live the greatest life you could possibly have. And that's how the world transforms. Makes sense, doesn't it? enjoy this. I'll leave the links in here and check out all my work. Come to the website and you can see it all there because next. In the next few weeks that they put everything up, it's going to be so wonderful. Because, oh, again, when you look at it, if you go there, my family yelled at me because this is still up there. It says 4 weeks. It's not that. It's going to be. It's so much more. They're changing all of that. You own it forever. You have it, and you've got so much more. But you'll get the sense of it when you just look at what's there now. But I just want you to have this. You're here to do something wonderful, and it's within you. See you soon.